Alright, I've got hay fever and it's spring, which means I'm silently suffering, but let's do this. I'm in Yokohama. It's the birthplace of one of my favorite Japanese dishes. But it's probably not the kind of Japanese food that you're thinking about, because what I'm talking about today is pasta. Wait, hang on. This is Japanese food? So how is it that this pasta, which looks super Western, actually from Japan? Well, this pasta is actually just a piece of a larger side of Japanese cuisine that you might have never seen before. This is Neapolitan spaghetti. It's a Japanese dish that belongs in a category called yoshoku, which literally means Western food. It's an entire genre of Japanese cuisine, but we'll talk about that later. Let's focus on Neapolitan, because it comes from a complicated time in Japan's past. So, quick history recap. After World War II, Japan was occupied by America for 7 years, meaning that for 7 years, American soldiers were living all across Japan. And you can see remnants of that occupation today with all the US military bases in the country. There's even one right next to Yokohama in a small city called Yokosuka. The other remnant is in food. And Neapolitan spaghetti is a big example of this. It's in cafes and konbinis across the country, and despite it being pasta, it has nothing to do with Italy, but instead America. By the way, I know it's crude for an American living in Japan to talk about the US occupation, but I promise I'm only sticking to food. I don't want to open the geopolitical Pandora's box. Sorry if it's windy out here, but can I just say Yokohama is gorgeous. I mean, to be honest, most Japanese cities kinda look the same, but just look at this place. So Japan had exhausted its resources in World War II, including rice, which is like the main thing in Japanese cuisine. During the war, military rations started serving stuff like curry with potatoes and cream stews to substitute rice. So for several years, Japanese people were already beginning to eat food that was originally foreign to them. The American occupation pushed this even further, because there was suddenly a new local demand for more Western-style foods. This chef in particular, Shigetara Irie, played a big part in this. He worked at the Hotel New Grand in Yokohama, which was hosting American soldiers during the occupation. And he saw these Americans eating spaghetti with ketchup and black pepper. I know that sentence just gave every Italian a stroke. So this chef was tasked to design a menu to mainly serve Americans, and he did. But in an Asian-inspired way. For example, Neapolitan spaghetti is stir-fried. Yeah, stir-fried in a pan with ketchup, which is totally not something Italians and Americans do. The Hotel New Grand is actually really important to yoshoku. They even had a Swiss chef to consult them about European cuisines. And from this hotel came a bunch of popular Japanese dishes like doria, Japanese pudding, and Neapolitan spaghetti, which is why I'm in Yokohama today, outside the very same hotel. So pretty much everywhere that serves Neapolitan spaghetti today cooks it with ketchup. But it's debated whether or not if the original recipe that Irie made used ketchup or a fancier ketchup-esque sauce that he developed. And even if they didn't use ketchup, it's hard to say if they still used the original sauce that he made. Now, I've had Neapolitan spaghetti many times, and it's double the price here, so I'm hoping that there's at least some tangible difference. Wow, even the presentation of it is giving it a different vibe. This is pretty exciting. I have no idea what it's gonna taste like. It's really good. I don't think this is ketchup at all. I think this is a unique sauce for sure. Okay, so wow, this is interesting. I take back a lot of what I just said. This Napolitan spaghetti, the original Napolitan spaghetti, is completely different than what I'm so used to eating all the time. I mean, it's not stir-fried. It doesn't use ketchup. The meat is tender. The flavor is just completely different. I mean, I don't think I would have even had known that this was Napolitan spaghetti if it wasn't on the menu. I mean, this isn't scripted at all. I kind of expected it to just be, you know, a more expensive version of it, which it is. But yeah, it's different for sure. I still think that the more usual, cheaper version of Napolitan is really, really good, and I'll continue to eat it all the time. But yeah, no, this is really worth trying just to sort of compare the differences between the original recipe, which is much more closer to a Western, American, Italian style taste than what it's become now. Yeah, definitely give it a try. Another thing about Yokohama is that it's not just an exhibit of Western culture seeping into Japan. The city also has the largest Chinatown in the country, and it's the only place in Japan where I've found Vietnamese coffee, which, by the way, is the best coffee in the world. Port cities like Yokohama are famous for cultural diffusion, and while it makes sense to come to Japan to try sushi and Kobe beef, this is Japanese food too, and it's just as good. Yoshoku is everywhere now, and some of them have even recently become famous around the world, like omurice. The reason I want to bring this to light isn't just because I want you to try these foods. It's because back in the West, we talk a lot about changing foreign cuisines to suit our tastes more, and it's a controversial topic. But the same thing is happening in Asia, and Napolitan spaghetti is just an example. People in Asia are changing Western dishes to their tastes. And honestly, I don't really see anything wrong with that. I mean, it would be ideal to have both authentic and fusion foods. But hey, I like American sushi, so I can't really blame Japan for putting ketchup on spaghetti. And yeah, that's the video.